It's one of the most stressful days for a youth baseball player. It's the day when you wake up with butterflies in your stomach because you're so nervous and the fate of your baseball future hangs on this one day, tryouts. You have no idea what to expect and you have so many questions running through your brain. How many players will be there? Are the coaches nice? Will I make it? In an environment like a tryout, it's very easy to get overwhelmed and not perform your best. In today's Bullpen Bulletin, I'm giving players my 3 tips on how to stand out at tryouts. With these 3 tips, all players will be the shining light on the field, no matter how many players there are. Hey team, Coach Hart here with Building Better Baseball, the best place for baseball education. If this is your first video and we're meeting for the first time, welcome, it's great to have you. I come out with a new Bullpen Bulletin every week that will help every youth player and coach increase their baseball IQ and take their game to the next level. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you can learn something new about baseball every week and you don't miss a video. Before we talk about tryouts, I want to let you know that I have a couple free guides in the description below that will really help your youth baseball experience. I have a free equipment guide for anyone who needs help finding the right baseball equipment and finding the perfect fit. I also have a free 2-hour practice plan for coaches who want to have better practices and make the most out of the time that they have with their team. I'm here to help and I made them just for you. Make sure you grab yours in the description below. Now, let's make sure all players get noticed at their next tryout. My first tip today is to make sure that you always properly prepare before tryouts. This tip probably seems a bit obvious, but hear me out. I know the one thing you do leading up to any tryout is to prepare by practicing, right? You go out however many days or weeks before the first day of tryouts and you throw, you hit, and you do all sorts of things to prepare to perform the best that you can. But one thing many players don't think about is how tryouts are different than any other part of baseball. That's why this tip is to properly prepare and not just to practice. In tryouts, coaches have to collect the most information about the skill of a player in a limited amount of time. They have to set up tryouts in a way that'll cover every aspect of the game and will have players demonstrate every type of skill on the field. They have to test arm strength, arm accuracy, running speed, fielding and catching ability, hitting for power, hitting for contact, bunting, base stealing, pitching, and so much more. They have to put a player through all of these skills in usually a 2-hour time period. As a player, instead of just going out to hit and throw, you should practice the specific skills and drills that you're going to see in the tryouts. In addition to just hitting in the cage, practice your bunting. You can even take it a step further by putting targets down on the left side and the right side and try to hit them, as if you were bunting down the third baseline or the first baseline. Coaches will usually have all players bunt during their batting practice time, and this is a great way to stand out. Along with practicing your fielding and your throwing, be sure to practice your farther throws. In the outfield, throw to each base from your position. In the infield, practice fielding and throwing from shortstop. Coaches will usually have players practice farther throws in tryouts to test out arm strength. All coaches test for running speed as well. And even if you're not Usain Bolt, which not too many people are, I know I'm definitely not, you can still practice your running and your stealing. Work on your initial takeoff and try to improve that. Work on your running form to help you increase your speed. When it comes to tryouts, the most important thing is that you practice all parts of the game, so you're prepared for everything. One last tip is to make sure you drink plenty of water, eat healthy, nourishing foods, and get plenty of sleep the day before the tryout. You may not be able to control what happens in the tryout, but you can control how you feel, and taking care of your body will set you up for success during the tryout. My second tip is to make sure that you show up to the field early. Being early is one of the best habits you can have whenever you go anywhere or you do anything in your life. But for this video, we're going to stick to baseball. One of my college coaches used to say that there's no such thing as being on time. You're either early or you're late. And I agree with that. My thought is, if you give yourself enough time to get prepared and be on the field ready at the start of the practice, the game, or the tryout, then you were early. If you're not on the field ready at the start time, then you're late. Showing up early to a tryout will give you a great advantage over everyone else for a few big reasons. One, you'll give yourself enough time to do whatever you need to do to play and prepare yourself. If you get to the field with 5 minutes to go until start time, you'll be running to the dugout, throwing your bag on the ground, rushing to put your cleats on and find your glove, take a quick sip of water, and get out to the field while forgetting to put your sunscreen on or put your belt on. Being early will allow you time to comfortably walk to the dugout, put sunscreen on and put your belt and your hat on, put your cleats on and hang your bag on the fence so it looks all neat. You'll be able to do any stretching or running you want to do before the tryout starts. You give yourself the power of time when you're early. 2, you'll be able to introduce yourself personally to the coach before the tryout starts. I can't tell you how important this action is to make sure you stand out to a coach. If you're the first person to a field and you walk up to the coach, you shake his hand and you say, "Hey coach, my name's Johnny and I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me." That coach will be blown away and will know your name for the entire tryout. That'll seriously pay off when there's 30 kids on the field that the coach is looking at. Every time he sees you, he'll think, "That's Johnny, he's an awesome kid and he's excited to be here." Make sure you're early to the field so you can give yourself time to prepare and not rush, and you can introduce yourself to the coach and make sure he knows your name before the tryout starts. My third tip today is to make sure that you hustle everywhere you go. Let's say you and another player have the same skill level on the field. You both fielded the same way, you both hit the same in batting practice, and you have the exact same running speed. How can you make sure that the coach chooses you and not the other player? In this situation, it all comes down to hustle. Make sure that you hustle everywhere. There should never be a point ever where you're walking on the field. At the very minimum, you should be jogging everywhere you're going. Dedication and commitment to baseball is a hard thing to show a coach. Coaches can't read your mind and figure out if you're serious or not, so you'll need to show them. The best way to show a coach that you want to be there is to hustle. If you're hustling everywhere, the coach will notice and think to himself, "Man, that kid is flying around the field today and he's hustling everywhere." What he sees on the field is what he thinks he will see in the games and the practices. You'll set a tone for everyone else to hustle. No one wants to be the last person to a spot, so if you're hustling everywhere you go, that'll set a tone for everyone else at the tryout to hustle. The coach will see everyone hustling and see you leading the pack, and that will 100% set you apart from everybody else. You look like a leader without saying anything. You are guaranteed to beat out the other players at tryouts if you show the coach that you want to be there by hustling everywhere you go. I'd like to hear what you think about this video. Leave a comment below and let me know what you learned and what you're excited to do for your next tryout. I'll be sure to respond and tell you good luck. And don't forget to grab your free equipment guide and your free 2-hour practice plan in the description below. No matter what coach is on the field for a tryout, you are guaranteed to make yourself noticed at a tryout if you properly prepare yourself, if you show up to the field early and introduce yourself, and if you show the coach that you want to be there by hustling everywhere you go. Thanks for tuning in today. I hope this video gave all players a head start for their next tryout, and you learned how to make sure the coach notices you and chooses you for the final roster. I'll see you next week for another edition of the Bullpen Bulletin.